Alright guys, sorry about that. I had a lot I just had to figure out in a short amount of time, which was not a short amount of time. So yeah, sorry. I'm still gonna have to try and figure some of this out because I'm working with a new app here, trying to make it so I don't have to stick to my computer and I'm not in my room, because being in my room makes it so I'm not as, normal, loud, because it's not like I'm loud, like screaming at you, but it's just more comfortable for me to be in my car, outside, moving around, using my phone. It's just more comfortable. Since I am a smaller channel, I am gonna start with asking you guys to like, follow, subscribe, because since I'm smaller, that does help. And I'll add like sad music and stuff when you go through and watch this again, when it's normal and not just being streamed, because no one's watching this yet. So yeah, that'll be in here. But so yeah, basically, I have noticed a lot of the time, when people tend to, I'm sorry, I'm still just trying to figure this out. When people tend to look at Norse mythology or Odinist, the Odinist belief, or just like the old people in like medieval time that came from Norway and Denmark and Sweden, that area, in general, and the Danelaw and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get too into all of that in a video about me just kind of ranting for a few minutes here, because this is kind of gonna just be a rant. I do tend to talk just a little bit too much, but yeah, so I noticed in class today that because I was in history class, or in Western Civ, I noticed a few different things today. Actually, I noticed that first of all, people don't really care too much about what actually was happening. I think we had a top, at the most, we had 3 pages, 4 pages we went through of like what actually was going on with like the Danes and the Norse and all of those people. But it's crazy because those same people you're giving 4 pages to, they're the worst people in the world of the time, and that just doesn't make sense, right? Like, and I try and use examples that aren't like the worst, like, I don't want to say it in such a bad way, but the way that they take it and try and paint it is that everyone from the Scandinavian area is the worst in the world. That's not at all what it was. It was never that way. It's in that time, to Viking or Vikings, they were like down upon by their own people. I mean, Viking literally meant to raid. Like, like I said, I look into this stuff a lot, which is why I want to start with Norse mythology, because I look into a lot of Norse stuff. I'm I'm Norwegian. Well, I'm not Norwegian, okay? I don't want to say that because that can get twisted real quick. But, I got my results back. I did an ancestry test, just like just about anyone does in America, because, well, we all want to say, oh, we're Irish, yeah. So I did one of those, and I'm a little bit English, I'm a little bit Irish, but a lot of it traces back to Norway. And so I looked into it more. Well, some of it traces back to Ireland and Germany, and so most of it went back to Germany and Norway, or like the eastern area of like Ireland and England, and that's all because that's exactly where the Danelaw was. And so if you think about it, it's because we don't listen to those people, and we had such a bad rep for those people, and we don't want to hear them out. We don't want to listen to their side of the story. We don't want to look into who they were as a person or who they were as a people, and we want to take the worst people in that whole community, and that's who we want to focus on. That's who we want to spotlight. And you just keep gaslighting the bad people of one thing that's gonna make them look bad. Yeah, so a lot of people are gonna look at Norse people and think, oh, they're terrible. No, a lot of them weren't. A Norse man, the average life of a Norse person consisted of like farming, and then he would take his like goats inside with him when they went to sleep. They would go inside with their goats and their chickens and whatever else they would have on their farm. They would go inside with that. They would sleep in the loft, and they would have, the goats would possibly wake up on their chest or whatever. That was a normal day for a Norseman. To be a Viking, normally I believe that was looked down upon. Obviously, there were times when that was a thing of a good thing. Not necessarily nobility, but they needed it sometimes. It was a necessity, not necessarily a nobility thing. And they needed to. There was the belief of dying with honor, dying by doing something that appeased the gods. And the gods, for the most part, are kind of not necessarily really war-based. Actually, that's the thing, is I want to say they are brutal, but I really can't say that they were that war-based. And that's the thing. That's the tough thing, is they weren't. It's one of those things. So, yes, to die fighting normally was your way into Asgard. That normally was how that worked. But there was also Odin, he was poetry, wisdom, war, that was in there. Yeah, but he was a person of 4 different things. And there was only one time that war was one of the things he really wanted to focus on. So, you got to think about that, and you got to realize how much that, they cared a lot more about wisdom in most of the stories with Odin than they did about warfare. You got to think about that. You got to realize that, and you got to look at it again and say, okay, how bad were these Vikings? And the reason that I want to keep emphasizing that, and the reason I want to make sure that people are listening to the whole point about why Norse people as a whole were not bad is because Norse people as a whole the Norse people as a whole were not that bad, because Norse people as a whole did not all go out and kill innocent monks. Which really annoys me, in the fact that I had this this history teacher when we were talking about it today, and when we were talking about it in our last class too. He said that once the Vikings finally converted to Christianity, he said they were saved because they were no longer believing in the Norse ways and the old ways of their gods. That's far from the truth, because right after all this happened, the Crusades happened, which is that's basically exactly what a Viking did. A Viking, not a Norseman, a Viking. There, like I keep saying, there is a difference. Please make sure you know the difference between the two. A Norseman is typically like a farmer, a fisher, a normal human. A Viking, which nowadays we look back on it and we'll say Viking. And I'm sorry to the person that just tuned in. I'm sorry to also distract this whole thing, but the comments are not working. So yes, I will have to play with that. But please understand the difference between a average Norseman who would typically fish or farm or whatever, and the Viking that's not the same person. That's a person that would be looked down on. Like I said, that's a person that the Viking literally meant to raid. That was normally not a good thing. That was normally something that they looked at and said, okay, he's raiding. That's not normally a good thing. That wasn't. It typically was they had to, or it was either they had to because they were out of supplies, or they were doing it because that person did not want to follow the rules, in which case they were not a good person. That's like saying, well, every person that's using a gun is an American. No, it's not. We're not. Have I used a gun? Yes. Have there been bad people that use guns? Yeah. Oh yeah. There's been a lot of bad Americans that use weapons, guns, and there's been plenty of people, normal people, that use guns in America. So please understand that difference. And like I said, not everything was based on not everything. No, they did not have guns in Norse times, but that's not the focus of what I'm saying. That what I'm saying is that there were people that lived normal, and there were people that lived this life of wanting to raid and plunder and kill innocent people, and there were people that wanted to just live like farmers, man. It's calling one group of people a whole extreme. They're taking Norse people as a whole. They're taking the whole Norse community and saying that they were all Vikings. That's completely unfair. That's not something that should be called on. That should not be how you look at a group of people. And to say that Christianity is what saved them, when if you weren't Christian, they would literally kill you, And then they also made... Yes, I did. They also would, like, they would either kill you if you weren't Christian, and then right after that, they started up the Crusades, and they didn't see a problem with that. Like, I'm just saying, there is an issue. There's a serious issue with saying that they were saved by Christians when they were saved by being murdered if they didn't convert, and then the exact same thing that they stopped, they basically copied. But the Christians are the good guys still. It just doesn't make sense. It's completely hypocritical. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. That's all I'm trying to say. And it annoyed me a lot. Because if you look back at it, you do any research on it, you look into a lot of the stuff in Norse mythology is based more on wisdom, and learning how to outsmart or be braver than what's ahead of you, not to just kill something or fight something. It's learning how to face whatever that problem is. Learning how to face an issue, learning how to face... It's all a mental thing. There rarely is a time when, in Norse mythology, it's just, oh yeah, we killed him. It's not just... It's rare. You don't normally see that. I mean, most of the notorious stories even if you haven't necessarily read your Norse mythology, if you've played Assassin's Creed and that's all the Norse mythology you know, which is fine. Honestly, my favorite god, that's a tough one, man. I think I'd have to go with Odin right now, too. I am looking into Heimdall, trying to figure him out more. He makes me really curious because I don't think he's ever really truly been touched on or looked into enough. And I really want to see what he is, who he is. He seems like a very interesting god. The only information that I know about him so far is that he is the god that kills Loki when Ragnarok is to come, and he is apparently the white god, which they say because he has the fairest skin in Norse mythology. So he's known as the white god due to the fairest skin of them all. He also is really interesting to me because apparently he has 9 moms. So that's an interesting one for me. I really want to look into that at some point and let you guys know how he works and who he is, actually. So yeah, that's one I'm waiting for. When do I think Ragnarok's coming? It's a good question. With everything going on right now, man, I would not be surprised if Ragnarok was tomorrow. I'm just gonna say that, because Ragnarok, man, with everything going on in the world right now, everything's just chaos. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But man, it's just annoying, I guess. That's kind of I kind of just wanted to get that out there, kind of say a few things on what I thought was really annoying. It's just because I've looked into this for the last... I've been reading up on it for the last 3-4 years at least, and like truly delving into it, especially now that I'm starting to get like the actual writings that were being written in like 900 AD. So when the Vikings were like just starting up, and when that was what they believed, like that was their book, and it was actually written by like the people that believed it, and it kind of it was actually them writing it, and it wasn't someone writing it figuring out everything. So now that I'm looking into that too, it's completely different, and it's just giving me more perspective on them, and I haven't seen anything yet that's talked about just pure violence, and I don't think I will. The Great Serpent. I really don't want to just like murder his name. But I think it's like Jormungandr or something like that. I probably totally butchered that, so if there are any Norwegian people out there that are going to listen to this, I'm sorry for that. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know about all of that kind of stuff. It's just all of that stuff. It bugs me, especially because we don't touch on it ever. You never touch on it. You have, like I said earlier, I don't think anyone was tuned in yet, which is fine. I understand. But you get like 3 pages, I think, and that's in college. Like, I don't think you even touch on Norse mythology or the Norsemen at all up until college. And then in college, exactly, they should have Norse mythology classes. Thank you. Or something. And I was thinking about it in class or after class. Like, well, if you go to Norway, they're going to say more about the Norse people, right? And apparently someone from Norway was actually saying, like, apparently they do the same amount of study on the Norse people as we do, which is like 3 pages. And that doesn't make sense, because you spend a whole unit in Rome learning about how the Romans worked, their mythology, all of that stuff. You learn everything about the Romans, and then the Greeks, and you even learn about the Persians a little bit, at least. And like literally the only thing I think I learned about the Norse people in school was that they had the Danelaw, and they took over, like, they didn't even say how much land. Like, it's still not really something that they cover, but they're like, well, yeah, they took over a lot of land in England. It's like they almost took over all of England if you actually look at it. They took over everything but this small chunk of land. Like, they don't say anything. They're like, yeah, there was a Danelaw, and that's it. And so that's all we need to know about anyone from Scandinavia. It's like, really? Like, that's one of the most prominent people in history. Like, you're gonna just call them the Vikings that were terrible people, and you're gonna just leave it at that and say the only thing they did that was like half decent was make the Danelaw, and they only took over like 3/4 of England instead of just like killing Alfred and then just taking over England, which they totally could have done. It's such an annoying thing. They just call them barbarians, and they never want to look any deeper. It's just, oh yeah, Vikings are terrible people, and they had a Danelaw, and that's it. I don't know. Something about it just made me really upset, really mad, I guess, not upset. I don't know. But it bugged me. And I feel like that was something, it's kind of a question in a way to you guys, if you ever learned anything about the Norse people in your classes, or if it was just me that like never learned about the Norse, and if it was just my class or just me that was told that once the Norsemen were either exposed to Christianity or killed off, if they were saved, which doesn't make sense to me still. But yeah, I don't get that. And yeah, I'm curious if when people watch this, and to you guys that are watching it, yeah, to you guys that are watching it, I'm just curious, like, was there something that like my completely decided to throw out the window because he thought it was he just thought it was the best thing to do to just make Christians look the best? Because I mean, he did say in the beginning of the class, he said that he was like a devout Catholic, which, you know, that's fine. I don't care. But I don't feel like it's cool, or whatever you want to say, to just walk around and be like, yeah, and those people from the north, we killed them off because they weren't Christian, and then the ones that we did like convert to Christianity, those are the ones that joined us on that crusade that we started killing the other people on, and that's why Christianity is the best. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, it messed up, bro. Messed up. I guess that's all I can say. That's all I can leave it at, too. Yeah, they're biased. They're very biased. But, like, that's the thing. It's not only biased, but it also is annoying with... Because he, obviously, I'm pretty sure he knows that I have some sort of Nordic or Norse like belief, or however you want to word that, because he sees me every day. I have the ravens on my wrist. Yeah, I'm seeing your comments. I don't want to answer that, man. And I've got the axe now that I wore, and I made sure he could see it that day because I knew exactly where it was gonna go. And he's seen my tattoo. I have a tattoo that is Norse, and so he knows, like, he knew exactly where he was going. Like, he knew exactly who he had in the class and exactly where that was going. He knew it was not... He should have known it was not the time and the place. I don't know, man. A little messed up. But I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm mad at, but all I can do is laugh at the same time. And then afterwards I thought about it, and I started looking at stuff, and I was like, you know, we never covered anything Norse in middle school to high school, but we did the Greeks multiple times, we did the Romans multiple times, and then in college we covered and then we recovered everything else, and then the Norse was like a 3-day thing, and we never even learned about like their actual beliefs. It was just what they did to England. And Thanos would be Persian, I believe. So, no, your comments are completely irrelevant right now, dude. But yeah, it's annoying, and I'm glad that I do get to spit all this out right now, because up later and then make it a smaller like 10-ish minute video, which is gonna be a lot of fun. It'll give me something to do. But yeah, I guess it'll just be something that I can rework with. I guess I can do that in my spare time as I'm like reading shit, so. But yeah, I've got a lot of studying to do, because I know one of you guys, I think it was one of you guys, the two of you commenting, actually did give me input for where I should start going next. And as easy as I thought it was going to be, it's actually strangely not easy. Battery is starting to run a little bit low. But yeah, it's actually strangely not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Apparently, creation and Yggdrasil, or yeah, I totally shanked that name right there. Thought I had it. Is going to be a little bit harder. And a lot of that is actually because Yggdrasil doesn't have a defined shape or anything really. And another thing that's going to make that a little bit harder, which I kind of think I might do a separate video for it, I think I'm probably going to do a separate video. Well, I'll add it obviously into it'll be a part of the creation video, but I'll make sure to cover it more later. And it's the idea of what their actual version of like hell is, because there's Helheim and then there's Niflheim, and even Helheim, a terrible place in some readings, and in other places Helheim actually is like, it's just ice. So sometimes it's like a continuation of life, and in other places Helheim is just like ice that you're stuck in, and it's basically the same as eternal damnation. And it's not, or we know yet if it's because of, that's because of if that's because of the whole Christian thing, and they had to put that in there to make sure the Christians were happy and not get murdered. So yeah, that's something I'll have to work and figure out, and then I'll have to see if it's actually Helheim that's the place that they go to, or if it's Niflheim. Yeah, I'll get to do some reading and some editing, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to get this from 35-ish minutes down to 10. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to clarify some things on some annoying stuff that goes on, until I was told by my teacher that apparently Christianity cleansed these by making them convert or killing them off, or making them go into hiding, which sounds kind of like something else that I don't really feel like covering. Oh. So yeah, it was kind of just something that opened my eyes a little bit when I heard it. I don't know, man. It was weird. And it's what else is there to really cover, man? All I was getting on here for is to say that I kind of learned something that people were saying that I realized was completely off. I mean, I guess I can stay on and talk about stuff that's completely irrelevant and then cut it. I wouldn't go the full Satanist route, but true though, a lot of Christians are double standard. A lot of Christians do like to pull on that whole like peace and all. They just completely, as soon as there's any chance for them to get into conflict, that is really annoying. And I was Christian for a while, and then I got into Norse mythology, and it was actually more peaceful. As weird as that sounds, which is why it actually, when he said that the Christians were the ones that were being less taught the Norse people and less of a problem, because once I learned, I was thinking to myself the whole time, I'm like, this is better than any Christian telling you how to like treat others properly. Fucking, this is telling you when you should talk. This is telling you, this is from when you're a kid, but it's in Christianity. It's annoying. I don't know. This not good. It's probably because I'm talking about Christian. Hang on. Are we good now? No, man, I don't go for that Satanist route. I don't go for it. Some shit like that, bro. Nah. I've never seen, nowhere in my life have I seen in the Bible a true like, this is how you should act. I mean, I've never seen a book about it. I'm not gonna judge Satanism, because I mean, how many fucking people are into Norse mythology and actually truly take it in? But it's one of those things, I like it pisses me off, man. I started reading I started reading on Norse stuff, and it's like, this is how you should act to be a good person. And that, that kind of stuff is nowhere in a Bible. Alright, man, you have a good one. But like, yeah, I mean, in the Bible, it just says buffering. Yeah, okay. Friggin' internet connection show. It kind of says stuff about how you should act in the Bible, but not. I wouldn't say it. No, I've never drank my own piss. But I wouldn't say it like truly tells you how to act in the Bible. Like, it does, but it doesn't. From what I've read. Maybe I haven't read the right stuff or whatever. Or maybe I missed something. I don't know. I can honestly say I've never read front to back. But everything I have read, it's fucking internet connection, bro. The Torah. I'll have to truly look through the Bible and read the Torah. And maybe I'll find something. Because, I've never read the Torah. That's not a thing that was, if you read the Torah, that was just like out there, completely crazy. If you read Norse mythology or Greek mythology or whatever, thanks. It was testing. It was more like, if you read the Torah, it was like, no, you don't do that where I was from. Maybe. I can definitely try. I would really like to try and add, I would try it and like to add some like African vibes, like real African vibes. Maybe get someone from an actual African country or something to get down that African vibe. Not like that, man. No, I'm just saying the actual, like, the drums and like everything that actual like style hits you with is great. I love it. Middle Eastern music I've kind of heard, but not really. I've heard it in like the background. Never truly listened to anything. It is nice, but it's not something that I can say like I want to listen to. African music, yeah, I like listening to it. It's interesting. Maybe I haven't heard the right stuff for Middle Eastern. I'd also like to try and do some actual Scandinavian style music too, maybe. I feel like that would be interesting. But, there's a lot of stuff. I don't know when I'm actually planning on doing music. Because I don't know if you guys have read any of the... Yeah, my internet, or my Wi-Fi, or whatever you want to say. Not my Wi-Fi, my data is totally just dying. But I mean, I really don't plan on making music for a little while. I've come to the platform now. I think that's kind of what I've changed everything on my platforms to say. Right now I'm kind of and then I'll just start clipping them down, so it's gonna be watch that and it can be more refined for you. But you have a good one, man. But yeah, I'm kind of planning to start covering some mythology, or beliefs that are not as common, and kind of see where that goes, I guess, because I'm really good in not only seeing what you guys say back, and like I said, I've been really interested in also, like, it's interesting to me. I like to been talking about for hundreds of years, and I just feel like that's more interesting right now than doing music. So I probably won't do music for a while, and kind of just focus on delving deeper into mythology for probably like 2 months. Take a few years of break. That's my plan. It's more interesting to me right now because, like I said, like saying multiple times over, it's more interesting to me to figure out not only why people are saying that these people were like terrible or whatever, but to actually learn like their stories and like who they actually were, because it's, how do I work? Because like Christians think that I'm totally okay with it too, so I don't know if it's a lot, a little, I don't exactly know, because some of the stuff I think of is still Christian, but there is the Norse Belief in there, and so it's just weird. It's hard to hear that, like, Christians are supposed to love thy neighbor as thyself kind of thing. First of all, that's a critical statement, and then they force it, like the forced conversion, and then if they didn't, they would murder them, but they don't talk about that for some reason. I wonder why. Against the Muslims, and until that time, peaceful up until they started fighting the Muslims, and until they forced conversion onto the Norse people, and then they would kill whoever didn't convert. It was all hypocrisy. That was all a hypocritical thing that they. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to close it here, I think. And like I said earlier, I will shorten this down, so it's not gonna be a 50-minute or 50 whatever minute video for you to have to go through and watch it all again. If you are curious what I had to say, I'm gonna cut out anything that I don't think is important, like me saying that I'm not doing music for a few minutes. I will save the VOD. So there's going to be this, and then there's going to be, yeah, there's going to be this, the shortened down afterwards. But yeah, up until next time, I just want you guys to have a good one.